Hello and welcome back to our blunders through the different softwares that we're going to be using as we refine our skill set. This is tutorial number 5, or as I say, draft tutorial number 5, as we work out all the kinks. And this is number 6, excuse me. Cesium Ion tutorial was tutorial number 1. And then QGIS Essential Plugin 1 was tutorial 2, QGIS Essential Plugin 2 Geocoding tutorial 3, QGIS Essential Plugin 3 Quick OSM or OpenStreetMap and Vectors tutorial 4, and Quick GIS Essentials, Quantum GIS Essentials bringing in CSV files tutorial 5. We're on to tutorial 6, and we're going to take a different tack in this than we did in the others. We're going to do it the way that I recommend that you do it in the course, which is to follow along with the slideshow that also has notes down underneath that help you to go back and figure out what to press. And so we've gone through up to, if we keep going down, we did shapefiles and lines. Where we just left off was in... Let's find it here. So it was using LibreCalc spreadsheets to bring your own data in, using the database supplied by the High Atlas Foundation, where we had the ability to go in and get the latitude and longitude from the Google Maps and then bring that into a spreadsheet, which then stored all of our values and then could be imported as points from the lat lon and as polygons and lines. So that's what we looked at last time, and there were some kinks, and I have to say that I allow that to be recorded because I want you to see what it's really like when you're working with these programs, when you've got so many different programs that you're working with. In our class, it's Cesium Ion and it is QGIS, often with GRASS GIS plugins and Saga GIS plugins and all sorts of other plugins, the Cesium Ion plugin, and then it's Blender and Blender GIS, and then Blender OpenStreetMap or Blender OSM plugins or add-ons, and then it's Unity 3D with all of its configurations and special versions, Roblox Studio, and then working within Roblox and its web portal and its computer-based player, and then you're into Gravity Sketch, and there's just so many different moving parts, so many different pieces to the puzzle. And because we're using open source free programs, every iteration, every new release, things have changed. There's improvements, things have been deprecated, taken out, and so you think you knew how to use the software last year, and then this year you're flummoxed. Where did they move that? What did they do? Where did it go? And so you get lost in this labyrinth. You get lost in this, what I've described as being a lot like the Marrakesh spice market or souk. So, everything moves around all the time. And so you get lost. There's so many little warrens and little streets to go down. And some stores close and some stores open. And it's always a novelty. So that's why you see often things will just stop working for us, and then you're like, oh gosh, I thought I knew this technique, and then I have to go back. So I'm going to try to keep this slideshow updated, drop in new slides, because I go through the different procedures here. And what we did last time was looking at getting this information. We ended up with the attachments for photographs and documents after we had brought in the spreadsheet information. So you can look at the last tutorial, that one being Quick GIS Essentials, bringing in CSV files tutorial 5, which ended with that. So now we want to get to the point where, knowing how to do that, what if we want to store shape files in the spreadsheet? That's where we ended. Remember saying, oh, well, I created a path through the market. I created a point. I created a polygon to represent a building. How do I get that in? And I'm going to encourage you now to go through and use this and then go back to QGIS. So I'm going to model it, how I would have you do it. So we're saying, let's say you've created a geopackage shapefile for a unique restaurant that serves camel meat, like Zaytun Cafe in the Herberist Palais El Badia, where we got our supply of argan oil. and a geopackage shapefile, a multi-line for unique path winding through the covered souks and narrow alleys past the Melas Spice Market to the Snake Charmers Market, and you want to share those idiosyncratic locations and trajectories with others on your team. Shapefiles like polygons have coordinates defining each vertex of the object, while shapefiles like multi-lines have coordinates for every node along the path. The problem is if you try to share the attribute table, its fields tend to truncate information, and this makes recreating the line or polygon groups difficult. So we have to use a much greater storage capacity of a spreadsheet, and that's where we come to the subject of well-known text fields, WKTs. And we want to learn how to export lines and polygons that we create in QGIS that can be re-imported through the CSV file when we need them. So how do we go about this? So what we want to do is we're going to add a WKT file. So let's actually draw the shapefile through the Spice Market that we were looking at that didn't work last time. So I'm going to open the Morocco tutorial here, and I guess I'll keep unavailable layers. Don't worry about the Open Sans font installation failure. Not relevant. Let's not look at plugin travel. So there's going to be these little errors that you can click through. All right, that was up at Ben Gurir. That's a path that we drew in another tutorial. We drew this path in the vectors tutorial number 4. So if you want to go back and revisit that. But we want to draw another path, and let's go and see where we're going to do that. We want to go down to, and here's where it's great if you have a, where is my, I guess it didn't save. It got all these things that have not been saved, and I want to bring in my spreadsheet again. So it didn't save my spreadsheet. So we're not seeing anything on this map of Morocco. So let's go back and import the spreadsheet so we make sure that we have that like we did at the end of the last tutorial. So let me find where I've stored it. I've stored it under data here, boundary maps and other data, and then I have spreadsheets and attribute tables. So here's the project site spreadsheet that we were talking about in the last tutorial. And you can see that it has all this information that came from the High Atlas Foundation, but it also has some rows for Marrakesh, the hotel that we stayed in, the Water Museum where we did our conference on urban health, and then that's a Lula path to the party, and then the path from Cafe Zaytoun to this path that was supposed to show a line and apparently has bad information in it. So there's the multi-line info line string, and it's got these weird negative 889.110.739 as a latitude, and it's there's something wrong with it. So we're going to try to correct that in there. But first, let's get all this stuff that is valid in there. Let's get these points for the High Atlas Foundation projects in that are based on the latitude and longitude, which are over here, latitude and longitude for the points, and then the multi-polygon information for some of the buildings and some of the lines in as well. So let's go through that procedure really quickly once more as a review. So we come in and we go to layer, add layer from a delimited text, and then we find that spreadsheet. And the first thing we're going to bring is point coordinates down here. The X field is longitude, the Y field is latitude. That's fine, and we do have those fields in the sample data table to verify. There's latitude, there's longitude. And we are going to use the 4326. Don't ask me why. I still don't know why you need a 4326 CRS when the coordinate reference system is 3857 from the Google map, but it seems to work. So we'll keep it with that. Somebody else can tell us why that is so. Maybe ChatGPT can tell us. Anyway, we're going to add this once we have got everything. It says add. Why are we not adding? Should be working now. Come on. Why can't you let me? Where's my add button? X and Y fields can't be the same name. Oh, somehow this got messed up. It always tells you down here. X and Y field names cannot be the same. The X field is longitude, the Y field is latitude, and now we're supposed to be able to add them. And when we go now to look at them, oh lordy, it looks like they ended up in the middle of nowhere again. So let's actually zoom to the layer and see, yep, they're way out in outer space somewhere. All right, so we're going to right click on that, and we're going to go to Layer CRS, and we're going to say Set to 4326. And now when we zoom to the layer, boom, they're in the right place. You can't see them very well because the way the dots are, so I always like to double click on that layer and then go to symbology up here, and I like to use the effect drop shadow that they supply, and I also like to make it in pixels, about 20 pixels, because then it'll show up no matter how I zoom. Let's apply it, see if we like it. Yeah, that works. And then say OK. So now we see all of our sites way up there in Ben Gurir. We have the university, and we've also put in the restaurant, I think. Yeah, there's the restaurant over there. That's the university. Oh, this is the student. You can go up here to info and click and see what it is. This here is the experimental farm, and this here is the university. Okay. So we have that. If we move down the map and we look here, this is probably the water museum. Yes, it is. And then the hotel we stayed in is this one here. It says the Hotel Semiramis. And so the question is, how do you get that stuff in? Because we got these points, the City Fadma and the High Atlas Foundation's project in Akrish Cemetery that we looked at in the last thing, which is this one here. We got all that information from the High Atlas Foundation, but then we put in our own information like the foundation office, and that does have a polygon associated with it, which has to be put in. So let's look at that. Let's actually zoom in to this feature. If it'll let us from here, zoom to feature, there we go. And once again, let's remind ourselves that you have to go to scale and bring your scale down, and then you can zoom in better. So there's that point. Let's get the polygon that's also in the spreadsheet for that. So the HAF office number, record number 24 is there. And if we go through it, we should see that it also has a multi-polygon associated with it. So we'd have to bring that in separately from the latitude longitude point. And to do that, you go back up again to layer and you go to add layer, delimited text layer. Choose the same spreadsheet, but this time don't use point coordinates with latitude and longitude, use well-known text. And then go to the field that you want, which is going to be the polygon well-known text. And let's see if that works. It's defaulting to 3857. We may have to change it. We will see. So we're going to add this in there. And it didn't show up. So once again, we may have to come in and set the layer SRS to 4326 and bang. Now it shows up over the map. And as I mentioned, one of the problems is that you can't see stuff through this. So let's make the opacity of this better. And then when we look at the actual attribute table and we go to zoom in on the High Atlas Foundation office, which is this, zoom to feature, then you see there is a polygon here for the High Atlas Foundation. This one here is the office. This one here is the study region, which is big. And then there's the office area here, the High Atlas Foundation office polygon. That came in. There it is now represented up there, as you can see. So we have that stuff coming in, and the next thing we want to bring in are the lines. So we go to layer and go to add layer. and go to the delimited text layer and go stay at well-known text, but this time the geometry, oh, you need to pick the spreadsheet, and then go to well-known text, and this time use the polygon, the line well-known text, and add that. And make sure when you right-click on it that it is set to 4326. It comes in. Now, if I zoom in on it, again, it shows nothing because it's got too much information in different areas of the map. So you would have to go to the attribute table and find a path that you want, like there's the Aglula path, and then zoom in on that. And you see the path there in yellow. If we turn this off, that layer is not there. And again, you may have to change the symbology to make it easier to read. If we put this pattern circles, we would get that. Makes it easier to see, for example. So you can play with the symbology, but that's a path. And there is another path that we were trying to get in that we're going to get to today, which is the path in the market. This one here from the arborist. And it has a path in it. So when we zoom to the feature, you'd think that we would see it, but it says it doesn't have a geometry. Yikes. So that's when we're in the project sites path thing. If I go to project sites here and try to zoom in, I get the entire layer. If I go into the attribute table and open this one and go to the arborist and now zoom to it, again, nothing happens because there isn't any coordinate information. So there's no geometry. So that arborist thing, which is there where we bought our argon oil, we have to bring that in because we can try the polygon. It does have polygon information, it says. I think, let's look back at it. That's the Zaytoon Cafe. And then the arborist does have polygon information as well. So that is geometry. So let's look in our polygon area. Turn that back on. Go here, open the attribute table, come down to the arborist, and zoom to feature, and bang, now we've got it, because there it is. That's the arborist, and there's a path that we wanted to make between this building and the other building, which is, so the other building, if I go back to HA Project Sites and go to the attribute table, is going to be the Zaytoon Cafe. Oops, I only want those two. That one and that one. And now you can see both of those images there. There's the Zaytoon Cafe where we ate. Turn that off, you won't see them at all, but that's the Zaytoon Cafe, and that is the herbalist. So we want to be able to walk as we did from here, but we didn't walk down here and down here. We went through the Nala, we went through the souk, we went through the areas where the riads are, and then found our way to the cafe, and that's what we want to recreate. So to do that, I'm going to go to a Culhane Paths. This is my own file that's not been stored yet in a spreadsheet. Remember that that is where we did this path that we walked from the restaurant in Ben Gurir to the Ben Gurir train station over here. So we want to do, that's the layer I'm using for all of the paths that I draw. And so let's go back into the old city. There you can just make out, there they are. All right. First thing we should do is we should create points for these and put those points in our HAF project sites area. So let's go and under Culhane locations of interest, let's go and edit it, and let's go and make a point and place it, and call this the herborist. I'd rather get the actual name from it. It is called, let me go here, Herborist Palais El Badia. So I'm going to just copy this name off of this and then come back. That is the name. I don't have an address and I don't have a website yet. We could look it up, see if anything comes up. If we look up, there's TripAdvisor has it, so does Frommer's, and then there's a nice YouTube thing, the best Marrakesh gift shops. Herborist Palais El Badia in Marrakesh is there. So there's a lot of different stuff there. So yeah, we can grab this as a website and come in and put in the website. Okay. And it would be nice if we also had the latitude and longitude, which is most easily captured from Google Maps. So if we go to maps.google and paste in, this needs the H. Oh, that's the wrong thing. So Herborist El Badia comes right up because so many people go there, and there it is. And we take that and right click on it and get our latitude and longitude. Then we can put that, find it again. Oh, it's disappeared. So what happened to it? What happened to it? Well, if I go out of it and I save the changes, then when I go to my attribute table, I open it, there's the arborist, and it doesn't have, oh yeah, so I did get that website in. All right, so that's good. That table is, that spot is there. And the same thing over here, I want to go and make this a location of interest. So this is the Zaytoun Cafe. And once again, we've called it Zaytoun Cafe, so I'm going to type it. And I come back into QGIS, and I will put that in. And Zaytoun Cafe should also have a website. Zaytoun Cafe in the Kasbah. And there it is. That is the very place. So once again, what I wanted to do is get the lat and long, and I don't have that. So when I go to lat long, when I go to address, that's where I can put the lat long for this. And then if there is a website, then we'll see. They don't seem to have a website. They do have a fuller address, so that could go in to our address field. And then the website, is there anything for Zaytoun Cafe? And TripAdvisor has it, but they have their own website. Great. Very nice. Let's copy that. And let's go back and put that website in. Right. But let us also, and I'm going to save this, let's also make sure that we do that for this field here. So we didn't get the lat long in, so we're going to open the attribute table, and if we want to add information in here for the website and for the, okay, so for the address for the arborist, let's go back and see if we can find an address here. So again, herborist, Badia. So they have a address that might be useful in geocoding there. Oh, it doesn't open again. Sometimes what it does is it puts like a million different windows open, and you'll have to close some of them. All right, so now we go to that, and we're going to put that address in there, but we're also going to put in the lat long for now. And put the lat long first. All right. And then save what we got. All right, so we have points in now for these locations. And we've got polygons, and we want to draw a line between them. So what we shall do is take the line, and we're doing this now in Culhane Paths, and take our tool and decide that we're going to do a multi-line, which, oh, that's buildings, right? Paths, there we go. Paths, there's our line, and then we can zoom in and say, all right, so we started walking literally from here, we went down there, we came through the market, through the little souk that way, we came down through here, saw some of the interesting riads there, and then, as I recall, we went down through here, and at a certain point, we came, it's pretty hard to tell looking at this map. Ah, yes. We doubled back to here, we came through here, the little warrens and nests that you can do, and you came through and finally came out here by the back of the mosque, and then we went down. Did we in fact do that? Not shown as obvious that you can get through here. So I'm inclined to believe, and that means you have to go back and edit this. I'm inclined, let me just do a Control Z on that part of the line. No, it doesn't do a Control Z. So it seems what we had done is, yeah, we came through here and then up that way. Yes, that's what we did. And then we walked through past and then came up upon the restaurant there. And then you'd have to right click and then put the name of the path, which is the souk path from Herborist to Zaytoun Cafe. And we're not going to put any photos or anything in there yet. We'll just say OK, and then it turns into a proper path. All right, so we have this information. Let's put in one more polygon as well. So if I go to, we have Culhane Paths, there's Culhane Polygons. These polygons are obviously already in our spreadsheet for the Zaytoun Cafe, but not for other things. So we want to we want to put in a polygon for the little place where Nai and Anas bought the trinkets, and that was down in here. And so you would go to buildings and polygons now and select polygon, and we will draw a polygon. And when we right click, it'll come up and the name will be Trinket Market, for example. And we'll say OK for that. And then that polygon is there, but it's not in the spreadsheet. So if I turn off the HAF project sites and I turn off the those lines, all I have now is what I have just put in. I've put in 2 points, the herborist and the Zaytun market. That is under the Culhane locations of interest. As you can see, I put in a path that is under my Culhane paths, and I put in buildings. I put in that building there. All right. The question now is, how do you get them out of here and into the spreadsheet for storage so you can send them around? If we look at the path, for example, by opening up the attribute table, it doesn't have any geometric information at all. So let's go back to our tutorial sheet and see how we do it. So let's start with the path from the restaurant to the market. And in the attribute table, you click on Field Calculator and then create a new field and name it geometry _ WKT. So let's copy that name, and we will go back to the to the attribute field, and we're going to go to the field calculator, which is open field calculator here, and see that little abacus looking thing? That's what I clicked on. And then I'm going to create an output field name and create a new field and name it geometry WKT. So a new field, and its name is geometry WKT without the period at the end. All right, and it's supposed to be a text field, not an integer field. And then in the expression, type the following to generate it. So polygons is this, lines is geometry to WKT geometry, again without the period. Okay. And so that is the expression that we're putting in. Make sure that that works. WKT geometry. It says it's invalid. Why is it invalid? Path to railway, soup, cafe, feature. So maybe I shouldn't have, I shouldn't have messed with it. Now it's valid. And it shows you a preview. It's going to spit out these line string with this information, -7. These are latitude and longitude coordinates down here that it's going to do. So when I go OK, I have created that, but as you can see, there it is for both of those. We have all of this information in there, but it gets truncated. That is the big problem with it. So we have to make sure that it put it all the way to the end. And we'll only know that when we export it. So the next stage is to export the data. So you're going to go export, right-click the layer in the layers panel, and export save features as CSV. Make sure to include your new field in the exported attributes by checking the relevant options. Verify the CSV. All right. And so if we go back to here and we say, okay, and let me save it. If we come out of editing and we right-click on this and we go export, save features as, and use a CSV, which should show up as, hold on, let's go back and make sure we got the instructions right. Export save features as CSV. Save features as, and it's there. So why is that not showing up? So we're here. Save features as, maybe it's something like that. So export, save, no, save features as, but not S3 shapefile, comma separated value. Okay, it showed up this time. There it is. And then give it a file name, and I call this, I guess I'll just call this Culhane Paths. All right, and having done that, I go layer create. Let's see if there's any further instructions. Set the geometry as WKT. That's the crucial part, well-known text. So geometry, WKT, and then say OK, and then it's there. And if we add the layer, we can see if this Culhane Paths, let me turn off that. It disappeared. Well, it's got Culhane Paths. So it might be, again, the layer CRS thing. Let's find out. Yes, it was. Okay. So Culhane Paths is now there in its entirety, I believe. The only way to really know is to make the symbology bigger. Let's use that one again and see if that helps out. Apply. Yeah, okay. So that indicates that the data for that path is there, right? What we now need to do is, because we exported it as a CSV, we needed to have said where it's going to go, and I don't know as we actually did that, did we? Let's redo that. Let's delete that, remove, all right, and let's go ahead and find a way to do this again by, again, right-clicking, saying export, save features as. The file name is what's critical, so we have to put that in. So we have something here, and I would call this Culhane Paths exported. Now we have a place for it, and now when we go to make it WKT, we should be in good shape. Now it tells us where it is. We can find it by going there. There it is there. And if we want to add it to check it, then you can see that if we add layers, it comes in. But did it do it properly? No, because once again, we have to go to set it to 4326. Now it did come in. You can hardly see it. So let's put something there. And now you can see that that path is on top of that path, which is grand. Now let's make sure that it is properly saved in the spreadsheet. So if we go like this and go to Culhane Paths Exported, then you have a line string. And the only way we're going to know if it's complete, and it looks like it also did, it did all these line strings. All right, is we have to know which one it is, because we only have two, and there's no other information than this and this, and one of them is the line here, but the other one is the line way up here, which was also exported from there. All right. So how to know? Well, let's look at the attribute table. Top one, which starts with 7.948, is the one way up here from Marmara Cafe, and the other one that starts on 7.986 is the one, as you can see, that we just made from the herborist to Zaytun Cafe. So 7.98, there's all the data in there. So what we do with that is come into here and let us look at our newest spreadsheet. This with 7.98 is the one. So I will simply copy, if I can get at it properly, sorry. I'm going to copy that information and bring it into my original spreadsheet for the path from Cafe Zaytun. And I'm going to put it under, not the polygon, but the line. I can find my line, polygon, longitude. Where is my line? Line, there's the line. And this one here is the one that was messed up that we saw in the last tutorial. Somehow that got really, really badly messed up. So we don't want that. So I'm going to select all of it and we're going to delete it. We're going to paste in the new line string and we're going to save this. And now that should work, and we don't even have a field in here for the path to the train station. If you look in here, so we don't have that information in here. So let's make in the spreadsheet, and this is how you can use your spreadsheet skills. The municipality, it would be Ben Gurir, and the village, so to speak, would be UM6P project area. I think we have in here. I think, do we have? No. All right, so there's that. We don't get the number of people, the number of households. We can say a note in here. Here is where we ate with the family at Marmara Fruits after touring the university, and then walked to the Ben Gurir train station. So we have that. This is record 32. A little bigger. And then we go in, we've got polygon, and we have polygon, polygon, polygon. There's line. And so here under line is where we want to take our information from this line string, copy it, come in here and paste it. All right, so we have that information. Now when we check it, we can get rid of this path. That layer can go. We'll keep the Culhane paths layer, but we're not going to use it. We are going to go back and we're going to add a layer, the vector, the delimited text layer. However, because we've already got a layer that we brought in, which is the one from the HAF project sites, we have an HAF project site there. Well, that worked out. That's interesting. So, because what I would normally do is I would say I need to change the data source and then come in and find my spreadsheet, HAF project sites, say OK, make sure that I change the CRS 24326, and bang, it comes in. And what should also be there is the one that we did up in Ben Gurir. That should be part of the same thing. And there it is. Okay, it shows up. So you go up there a little more. Yep. So now it's coming off of the spreadsheet, as you can see, and it was under Culhane paths, that's when we drew it on the map, but this dotted line is coming from the spreadsheet. So that's how you would get the line feature in. For the polygon that we did, and let's go back in. So we made a polygon for the little Culhane polygons. Yeah, we made a polygon for the little place where we bought the stuff, the trinkets. You know, where that building has solar panels. That's cool. So we've got to get that out. And that one is in, as you can see, the trinket market. That has its own geometry. So if we want to get that into the place, then what we would do is we come into the spreadsheet, the major spreadsheet I'm talking about, and we'd create another thing. I'm going to put in something here, then here. All right. So we're going to do Marrakesh Safi for this, and it's in Marrakesh. But this is called the trinket stall. And we will go and find out what the geometry is for that and then drop it in. So we're going to go here to buildings and other polygons for Culhane. And we are going to look at that attribute table. And there is no WKT field in here. So once again, we go to that abacus to add a field. And the output field name is going to be called WKT polygons, because it's a buildings and other polygons thing. And the function that we need to paste in is once again from our tutorial for polygons geometry to WKT $geometry. Come in here, take it slowly because this can get confusing. Paste that in. It verifies. It's going to produce that. And here it does this weird 885955. When that happens, I get very concerned because those values do not look like anything that I have seen. And that possibly is because, well, I don't know. I really don't know why. Let me see something here. Auto generate. We've got trinket maker. We're supposed to put in a field. The field is there. Let me see what I've done wrong. So I come in here and I say, I know why. That is why. We figured it out, why those things were bad in that original spreadsheet. I'll show you right now. So this is going to be geometry WKT field. And we put in the expression, but it shouldn't be an integer. It should be text. That's the problem. It should be text. Now it should come out right, I hope. Geometry to geometry. We can only pray that it'll work. The feature that we're using is the trinket. Still seems to be doing weird things. The output field, the output length. Create a new field. Well, we'll see. So these all have polygons. Let's see what happens. So we've got that. And that we need to save. And now that we have that, if we export it and save the features as comrade separate values, give it a name, which would be Culhane polygons exported, and then make sure that it is a WKT and say that, and then add the layers. Yeah, it matches up. And if I zoom to the layer, of course I've got many of them down there and down there. So let's zoom back in, go to the attribute table, to get familiar with this, go to the trinket make marker, maker, zoom to feature, there it is. All right, so if I want to export that, which we did, then when I go and look in my folder, I have Culhane polygons exported. That I'm going to open up. I got 3 of them. The question is, which one is the attribute? And if I open up this and look at it, it starts with Student Center, then Ben Gurir, then the Trinket Maker. And actually, I want to get all of them in. So let's go to our main spreadsheet. And the trinket stall is the third one down. Copy that and find our way over. We're in 33, the trinket stall. Find our way over to the polygons. Pop that in. Now we have 2 others that we've done. One of them is the Ben Gurir train station, and the other is the student center that we drew in the last tutorial. So we can probably, let's see. Yeah, so let's go and let's put in the Ben Gurir train station. So that it would be in Ben Gurir. And Ben Gurir, and it would be train station. And then for the polygon, here, we need to go and grab it. Was it the second one, or was it the first one? Let's see. That's the paths, we don't need that anymore. This one is polygons. Ben Gurir is the second one, which is this one here. So let's copy that. Come back in here and put that polygon into the spreadsheet. Let's save the spreadsheet. And then the last place that we have up here was the student center. And I know that's the case default. So the student center, come back here. And I'm just going to paste it into Polygon because I've already got it there in row 35. But I'm going to go back in row 35 and put the Ben Gurir, and then UM6P Student Center. And I've already put it in right there. So that's now in my major database. I'm going to save that major database. And now what I will do, we don't need these little databases anymore. They serve their function. What I'm going to do now is get rid of Culhane polygons exported. That's not needed anymore. What I want to do is bring in those polygons by going to layer and add layer from delimited text layer. Go back to my project sites, my main database. Tell it I want window and text, and I want to do the polygons now and bring the polygon information in. I should be fine. I could add, and then the HAF project sites polygon here. We had one before here, but I can remove that layer. This project sites now has that on top of the buildings, as you can see, but it also has other information in it. So if I open the attribute table, this is the entire table, and I can go to the student center now, and there it is. I can also go to the train station, and there that is. So what this is showing you now is that if I now get rid of everything in here, so goodbye HAF project sites, goodbye HAF project sites. In fact, why don't we just wipe, let's take all these things, clean paths, I think we did, and the narrow gauge railway we still would need, but why? Culhane locations of interest. Oh, we have to keep that because those are not, we haven't done points yet. But let's get rid of all this. And let's just assume that we were, and let's turn that off. And let's turn that off and that off. So all we have is a satellite now. Like, oh gosh, there's Morocco. All right, yay. Where are we working, Morocco? So you'd come in and you'd say, well, I have a spreadsheet that has all of my information so far. And I want to import that information. So on my map, everything else is off. On that map, I go to layer. I go to add layer, text, oops. Add layer, text delimited layer. Go to the file, which is the HF project sites. And let's not bring in point coordinates just yet. Let's just bring in well-known text, and let's start with the polygons. And let's add them and make sure they came in okay. And they didn't come anywhere in on the map, and that's again because we have to go here and do the layer CRS 24326, and bang, now we have all of our polygons. And you can see that some are up in here. Okay. And we don't see the train station. So that's disturbing. Should have come in. Maybe because we didn't save this. It looks like it's saved. Okay, that is interesting. So let's go back in and look at the attribute table. And student center should show up. There's that. Okay. Oh, it's covered. Student center is covered by this. And so when we look at the student center, it's not showing up because it's covered by the project area. So let's move the opacity down for that and apply it. And let's see, does the student center show up? And the answer seems to be no, because this is the student center over here. So something is clearly out of whack, because that should have shown up, and the train station should have shown up, but it doesn't. And what about our lines? Maybe that we're experiencing a glitch. Add layer, add delimited text, use the project sites, go to well-known text, choose the line. I'm going to tell it deliberately to do line, add it, and then move it to 4326. There is the line. Okay, that one showed up. Not easy to see, but let's do it like this again. So there, we do have that line feature. So that worked. And if we go to open the attribute table and look at the area of the herborist, then it doesn't have a geometry. Well, that is certainly interesting. If we go down to here and zoom to feature, it doesn't have a geometry. All right, well, there's a problem. There is the path. It does have a geometry. That's odd. So the path is there. So why, if we go to attribute table and we go down to the arborist, you'd think that this is the one where the path is. But oh, is it path from cafe? Oh, I see. That's the arborist building. This is the, yeah, this is the actual record for that. What we're not seeing is the cafe. It says it doesn't have a geometry. So the polygons thing failed us somehow. And we have to figure out why that is. So let's go look at the polygons. Yeah, there we have that same problem, the 88933. That is not reading correctly. These mean nothing, and it happened on one of the line exports as well. So another way to check for that is, since we did our export into spreadsheets like Culhane Paths, we know worked, so we can close that. We don't need to save that. But our polygons exported even came in as a QMD, whatever that is. Let's just see. Yeah, there's this weird numbers there. And if we bring those polygons in on their own by going layer, add layer, delimited text layer, and then bring in the CSV project site. Oh, let's not do that one. Let's do the actual one that we exported. The Culhane polygons exported. If we bring that in, and we are on polygon, and we add it, then our polygons information, view the sender. If we zoom to the feature, it says it doesn't have, oh no, it does have a geometry. This is so weird. It says it doesn't have it, but it does. Let's see, so if that one had one, what about the Ben Gurir train station? That does work now? Okay. All right, that's decent. And what about the trinket marker? Yeah. So they're coming in okay for this. Let me get rid of that then and remove that layer. Boom. And this one here that was not working, let me get rid of it as well. If the stuff had been translated properly, then when we add the delimited text layer, we go to the major project site one, and we make sure that it's coming in as a well-known text, and we're using polygon, then that field should populate for the whole thing, and we should be able to hit add, and it did come in. All right, so yeah, who knows? Like, how does it sometimes come in, sometimes not? And that's why, even though it must feel confusing, you should see what we go through in the real world when we are following tutorials. There are misdefined things, and there's glitches, and then you have to redo and try to troubleshoot that way. Sometimes it's just redoing and redoing. So here, if I go back down to the train station, that's there. And if I go to the student center, that's there. So we're bringing this information in from the spreadsheet. We've brought in paths, we've brought in buildings, we've not brought in the points that we put in under Culhane locations of interest. Those points so far have not been added to the major spreadsheet. So let's figure out how we would do that. Once again, you would go and open your attribute table, and you would go to the abacus, and you would add, in this case, two fields. Latitude would be 1, and it needs, that would be an integer. And it doesn't necessarily create a new field. Latitude, it needs an equal expression. And because I didn't put that into the notes yet, I've got geometry for lines and polygons, but I don't have a field calculator for lat and lon. This is where I encourage you to go to ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, hey chat, I've just created some points on my QGIS map for Morocco, and I need to send them out as a .csv to my spreadsheet. I've created a new field in the attribute table for latitude, and I need the expression to populate that field, and it seems only then can I add the longitude field and add that expression. Can you help? And this is how I spend a lot of my time learning on my own. So it tells us right then, open the attribute table, select the new latitude field, click on the field calculator, and then use Y geometry. Okay, well this makes sense. Update existing field. And then we do X geometry. And this makes complete sense because if you recall, we were seeing that, I'm going to go through this again, but remember that when we were bringing in the points, and I'll bring them in to show you, when we were adding the spreadsheet and we were using point coordinates, the X field is longitude and the Y field is latitude. And I said in the last tutorial that that doesn't make intuitive sense because we think of X being along the horizontal and we think of Y being on the vertical, and usually we use the horizontal lines on a globe for latitude and the vertical lines for longitude. But in this QGIS, it is flipped around. So X is longitude and Y is latitude. That's how it's going to pull it in. So the same thing when we're exporting out. So when we go to the attribute table and we create, using the abacus, a new field, and we call it latitude, then it's going to be in the Y geometry. That's what it's going to pull in, and it should be an integer, or at least maybe it should actually be a decimal number. It's probably better, and it is much better actually. So we'll put decimal number. I hope that works. We're going to see. And then I'm going to say for feature, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to say OK. Now we have that number, but ooh, does it look bad? Or does it? 300. Yeah, that is not a latitude. So I'm going to go back and say, you know, to chat. Okay, why did it give me this number for latitude? That does not look like any latitude I'm familiar with. Projected coordinate system. Well, maybe it will work. It's just weird rather that than the others. If you put your layer in EPSG 326, well, we can try that for sure, and we can run that again. But let me create first the longitude, and I'll create this and make this longitude, and use the decimal number, and then, oops, I need to do that. The expression is X geometry for longitude. And then we can say OK. And so those are the coordinates there. Now, if we were to add that, you would think then that there would be, I'll have to save it, stop editing. So those locations supposedly have latitude and longitude information. And we would know that if we were to export it, and it is at 4326. No, it's not 4326. Oh my goodness gracious. So this is at 3857. And that could be one of the problems that it's saying we have. So if we were to go in and we were to export these features as a comma delimited and export it as 3857, then we would get, I can say, Culhane points exported. All right. Then the geometry here is as XY, I believe. What do I put? Let's just say default, I guess. We'll try that. Geometry type, no, point. All right, it's a point geometry type. And now I say OK, and it's added Culhane points exported. But that doesn't seem to have any information that is useful that I can see. And it doesn't let me turn it on or turn it off. So let me remove that layer. Let's go and try this again. Culhane locations, we're going to export, save features as, and we're going to do Culhane points. And we're going to tell it to geometry type is going to be point, and then the geometry as YX, I think. Let's try that. Overwrite the layer. And it failed. All right, so something is going wrong here, and let's look at the export. What did that look like when we were at the data? So points exported. Yeah, it's got this weird latitude, longitude, which really doesn't do much of anything. To the point where if I cancel that, if I bring this in to the map as a delimited text layer, and I bring it in as point coordinates, longitude and latitude, but I don't use that one. I use this one that I just exported, so copy points exported. Point coordinates, longitude, latitude, that's what it shows. Latitude and longitude, I should have put a capital. But these are like weird decimal double. I don't know what those are. I don't know if it's really text string or what, but I did decimal double. Maybe that was the problem. And if I do that, then add it, then this Culhane points actually does show up, and it shows up just fine. That is, for me, the most bizarre thing in the world. And the only thing I can do to try to figure this out is if I go to my main spreadsheet where I have like proper latitude and longitude, it's probably going to get all messed up when I add this other. But I'll try it anyway. I'm going to say, I have 3 different locations here. I have Marmara Fruits Cafe, and I've got, I think, can't do it like that. I've got Marmara Fruits Cafe, and I've got Herborist, and I've got the Zaytoon Cafe, and I want to put them in the major spreadsheet. So I have in Ben Guerir, I've got Marmara Fruits Cafe, and I've got the Herborist, which we already have here, so I don't have to put that in, and I've got the Zaytoon Cafe, which we have here. I just want to put points in because I already have other information for them. So the best way to go about that then is to, I probably should have kept that open so I can see them again. Open the attribute table. So the top one is Marmara Fruits, and then there's the Herborist, and then Zaytoon. So coming back here, the top one, oh, it even has it in there, so that's fine. So if I take this and this, latitude, longitude, and copy it, come back into the spreadsheet and look at Marmara Fruits Cafe and go to, that is number 36, and go to latitude and longitude for 36. Well, the first thing is the coordinates together. So, and then I can separate them. Oh, not that. And then I can just put it here. All right, so I've got those coordinates there, and I have the other one is Herborist, that and that, and then come in and find my Herborist, which is here. There's a polygon information associated with it, but we're also now putting in latitude and longitude in a weird form that I'm not going to understand if it's going to work, and I don't think it is, but we're going to try it. And then I have the Zaytoon Cafe. And then come in here and say Zaytoon Cafe is number 30. So now they're in and they're saved in the master document, but as I say, they're not in the same format as the decimal degrees that we used for all the other points. And to anticipate, I'm going to ask ChatGPT, and I'm going to be like, copying that and going in here and saying, so chat, I've put the lat and long in my master spreadsheet, and some are decimal degrees, as you can see at the top rows, and some in this weird projection in the bottom 3 rows. How can I translate the projection coordinates into DD? And then I'll put the picture in and see if it can offer any interesting advice. Convert in QGIS. So there'd be all this. If you know the CRS, you can use the online tool. Well, first of all, let's just see what happens when we bring this in now from this spreadsheet and see if it does anything proper. So we will go to we're going to go to the layer and add the delimited layer, and we're going to choose the major HF project sites, point coordinates, longitude and latitude, and we'll let it do what it wants to do first and try to add them. And we see that it's not in the right projection. And so then when I go to the CRS and change it to 4326, the points do appear. Another thing I'm going to do is double click on them and go to the drop shadow and add that. So now these all come in, and you can see whether or not the others have come in. And they have not, because you don't see them showing up as stars. And when you turn them off, you can see the Culhane locations of interest are not on the map. If we did the Culhane exported ones, those worked. Is it because they're in the wrong CRS? Well, no. Actually, this one should have been that one there. So the HAF project sites polygons is fine, but where we brought in these project sites, they are not showing up. And when we go to the attribute table, then you can see that the problem is these really weird latitude and longitudes, which are not in lat/lon in any recognizable form. So if that's the case, the problem could be when we looked at the actual data of Culhane ports exported, and we look at the layer CRS, it's in 3857. And that is what chat was saying is a problem, because this is coming in and it is at, well, it's at 3857. Yeah, so something is odd here. But when we do our export, let's do that again. So we're going to take this point and we're going to get rid of it. We don't need it anymore. And delete that. It says it's being used because it's open in QGIS, and that's why we can't get rid of it, because it's brought it in. Culhane points exported. And let's try getting rid of it now. It says it's open in QGIS. Let's just get rid of everything here. 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 Come back to here. And this one here we will remove. And then it should not be open anymore in here. Okay, so it's gone. So we have the Culhane locations of interest, which are all over the map here, but we need to export them again. And before we do that, we've got to make sure our attribute table is calculating properly. So if I go in and edit the spreadsheet, first thing I want to do is go back into my no, update the existing field, but let me edit this. And so we're going to figure out how to get the latitude and longitude out of QGIS properly. First thing I noticed, though, is that I named latitude here with a capital L and here with a small l. And in my major table, I've got them pretty consistently with latitude and longitude having capital L's. And I just want to show how you change that, because it's not all that obvious. Not obvious at all. You can't click on this and change them in here. You can't rename in any way. Going into edit doesn't do you any good at all. You can add fields, but you can't change these names. So the way that you do change the name is you've got to click on that layer, and then you've got to go to processing and make sure your toolbox is on. And then you want to find refactor fields. And then when you double click on that, now and only now do you have the ability to change the names of those fields. And so here, latitude is proper, but longitude needs a capital L. So, oops, and it didn't let me do it. Why? Longitude. It's supposed to let me, but it's not letting me. Field mapping longitude. Oh, is this the name then? Maybe I have to change it from here. Yeah, there it is. Longitude and longitude are now changed. I don't know why. Run. Oh, I've got to run it? Really? Close. And let's see, did it actually... Oh, now it's got something called refactored. Oh, that's crazy. Like, why do we want to do that? So if I open the attribute table here, then it doesn't change the darn thing. But if I go to refactored and I open my attribute table, then it has changed it. And so then I would have to go back and delete this, remove this layer, because I don't care about it anymore. Now the refactored, I need to change my legends so I can see that it's been refactored. And the different symbols. It's not giving me many options for the symbols, is it? So those are my favorites. Let's go to all symbols and then look at that honeycomb again, apply it. It's okay. Now those are back in. They're refactored, but it needs names, which is Colhane places of interest. And this you can rename from here. So it's Colhane points of interest. All right, so that is there. But now when we try to export these, because as you can see, the attribute table has still those really awful latitude and longitude, then maybe if we go to the abacus here and we say that we're going to update an existing field, then we are going to use that expression which ChatGPT gave us. We should commit to memory, but we're going to say X geometry for longitude and Y geometry for latitude. And so we will go update the latitude field like this with Y geometry. Yeah, Y geometry for latitude. And then we want to, funny because we need to make it work as a in the right projection. So let's go back and ask ChatGPT. Grab this, go like this and say, So I'm going to say thank you. Always say thank you. Be polite to your AI. Thanks, Janet. Now, how do I export the decimal degree lat lon using the field calculator? And we'll put that picture in and hope that chat knows what I'm talking about. Prompting is everything, learning how to prompt. All right, so we open the field calculator, made a new field. Oh, copy that code. And then it's a decimal number real. That's decimal degrees. All right. And do the same thing for longitude. So we're going to make a new field. All right. Well, that's fine. So we'll go create new field. And the output field name is going to be latitude decimal degree. And it's saying that we should do it in decimal number real, I believe, is what it said. Latitude underscore DD it recommends. So let's do what it says faithfully. Say latitude underscore DD, because it's the programmer, it knows better. And then the decimal number real, and then type in here this code. So that's the one where we could have just done copy code, and then put that into here. So it's transform geometry, and then we get the CRS like that, and we can then all right, that's looking much more like it. And then we would do the same thing and add another field and call it longitude underscore DD. And the expression is the same, except we're using the Y, we're using the X rather for the longitude. And that's the only difference there. And we would say, and it's not whole number, it's decimal number. And we would say OK. And having those, we might be in better shape. So if we save this, having this attribute table, and we now go to Culhane points of interest, and we export that table as a CSV, and we'll call it Culhane points exported. Redo that, and CRS is, I'll keep it on the 3857, even though we exported it in 4326. I still don't understand these coordinate systems, but let's see what happens there. And then we will, geometry type is going to be point, and the geometry, I don't know, so we'll leave it as default, and we'll say OK, and it's added to the map. Boy, it's looking weird. If we go and look at the attribute table, it is that. For whatever go to ill, you can't turn it on or turn it off. But that's not important because it's exported as a spreadsheet, and I don't really care about that. What I do care about is that I can open up this Culhane points, and then I can take my latitude, longitude for the Marmara, and actually I've got all this information that I should be able to copy into my major spreadsheet. So the Marmara is here, 36, and I have that. I don't need anymore. I don't take that. Oopsie. Yeah, let me go like that, and that's consistent. 32 as opposed to -8, -7. Looks like we're on the right track with that. I should create columns for address and all that sort of stuff. It's useful to have as you build your spreadsheet. You might as well have columns for like everything that you want to do. And I had started out just with the, oopsie, number of households, activities. I think if I go to the view and bring it down to 75, no, it's not helping. Go down to 50%, then I can shrink this up because I don't need all that information displayed, and then I can bring in and say that before we get to the estimated number of people, let's insert a column. Why was it not me insert a column? Chart shape function text box. Okay, that's not what we use then. We use a right click here and insert column after or before, and we'll call this address if we have that information. And then Marmara fruits, which we have address information here, we can grab that. And we can bring that in. And then the other thing that we can do is bring in, we have the website, got web pictures. Everything I think should have a website these days, and it probably should be right after the address. So I'm going to add another column for this one, and I'm just going to call it website. We can use that as an attachment as we showed in the other thing, and then come in and put in our website and come back to that spreadsheet and pop that in. For now, that will do. I want to get the other information in. So we have the herborist. We have now the latitude and longitude for the herborist. Come here, find the herborist so I can zoom in a bit more. Zoom in 100%. Let's go down and find the herborist, which is number 31. And then taking number 31, we find we're inserting this, and the same thing with the Zaytun Cafe. We want to get rid of that there by coming into here and getting the Zaytun Cafe, and then coming in and eliminating that. And as we said, they each have websites that we had recorded, and so let's grab the website for the arborist and bring that in. So you're really going to spend most of your time building a really good spreadsheet. That is the idea here. So this is the address and this is the website there. And we have information. We also have an address for the herborist. And you can see the difference between, like, I'll even take this to put this in the address so we have it. This is what we got off Google Maps, which is a lot more detailed in terms of decimal places, and that could make a huge difference. We will find out. So let's put the address and then so there's the address coming in there. And then for the Zaytun Cafe, let's do the same thing. Let's take the address and the website, copy them, and come in and put them into the Zaytun Cafe. And now let's go and see if the truncation here makes a big difference, because if it does, then we've got to copy what we got off the web there. So let's save this. And let's go back to our project sites, which is here. And what we're going to do with the project sites, and turn that off there, is we're going to update by going to change data source and go back to our major CSV. It's now in the middle of the ocean again, so let's go and set it there. Now everything is there. The question is, did it bring in everything we wanted? And so when we click here, Yep, there's the Marmara Fruits Cafe. Came in just great. It's ground truth it by really zooming in on our scale to the street level and see, yeah, it is off. See, it's not on the street. And that is because we have truncated the information in terms of its decimal places. So really, if you want this to work, we're going to have to take this string here and we're going to come over to here and replace this truncated 3 decimal place thing with the one that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 decimal places. And we've got to get the other one, which has 15 decimal places, and copy that and go over here and put that in. Now that should work, and I don't want to bother doing the others. That should have happened automatically, and we'll look at that in a second. But now that these are in, I'll save it, and having saved it, I can go back here and simply say to change the data source and bring it in again, and then of course reproject it, and it's still in the wrong place. That is interesting and disturbing, because it shouldn't be that way, because if you look here, it's actually over there. So what gives? Why is that coming in the wrong place? It's a very good question. Maybe because I'm not using the right cafe. Let me see which one I changed. I did not do the right one. The one that I changed over here is the Zaytun Cafe. So one more time, the Marmara Fruits is down here at number 36. And I don't think I actually I didn't put a proper GIS for that. I only did for this one and this one. But that leads us back to what we have to do. We're going to re-export. I'm going to get rid of this. This is not interesting right now because it's off. I'm going to take Culhane points of interest, and I'm going to go and open up the attribute table. And I'm going to go back to the field calculator, and I'm going to ask it to update existing field. And it was this was the problem. If I go to longitude decimal, it's still not letting me do it. So I guess what I have to do is create a new field again. Oh lordy lordy. Go to decimal number real and tell it I want 15, if it'll let me. 15 decimal places. Now that the output field length is only 10, that's not going to work. So I'm going to make this 20. Make my output field name, which is longitude underscore DD 15, and then the field that I'm using is not that. Oops. I go back to that expression builder, and it's going to be this. That one. So longitude we said was the Y. Longitude was the Y, wasn't it? No, latitude is the Y. So let's change this to latitude. Latitude DD15 for decimal number 15. It's on real, and we're going to create a new field for this. Say OK. That comes in, and you can see it's a lot longer than that. And the same thing for longitude. If we go in to Abacus and we say we're going to do longitude underscore DD15 decimal number, make it 20 and 15, and then we can use the same expression but change the Y to the X, and then run it. Now you can see that those are now proper. And with that, we don't need to save it because I guess it's already saved. Oh no, I think we do need to save it, to tell you the truth. We need to save that, and we need to save this, and we need to save scratch layer as Colleen points of interest. All right, so it didn't save. Funny thing is, I didn't really want to. I didn't want to change anything. But it's now, obviously it's right there, which is perfectly where it is. And if I export this by doing export save feature as, and then make this once again the Culhane points exported, keep that at 3857, doesn't seem to matter, these don't seem to matter, geometry type is okay, and then say okay. We overwrite the file, and it failed. It already exists. So I said I wanted to overwrite it. It failed. All right, well then go back into here and take the points exported and close it. Don't save it. And now let's try it again. So export save features as. This time Culhane points exported is what we're going to use, and we will say OK. Overwrite file. Good. All right, and then we don't need this. What we need is to import layer, add delimited text layer, go to our, not yet, we're not there yet. We need to add that information in here. So we need to open up the points exported, and then we need to go to the DD lines for each of these, and the order is Marmara, then Herbarist, then Zaytun. So Marmara is now this, coming into Marmara, which is this, Marmara Cafe, and it's going to take over these two. Yes, okay, and then the Herbarist is the next one down, and so we'll take the Herbarist, right? Herbarist, come in here, and the Herbarist is here. Get rid of these, and then the other one we fixed before. So this should be finally working. Apologies for all the confusion. So if we bring in the data source, which is now the project site's master, and we're doing point coordinates, longitude, and latitude, and we have everything in there, then when we add, and we double click on this to bring up a symbology that tells us things, and then do the reprojection, bang, and it's right on the Marmara Cafe. And then the other, if we open the attribute layer, the other material is here as well. So if we want to go to the Herbarist, we can click on this and right click and say zoom to feature, and there it is. There's the Herbarist, and then we have this one here, which is the Zaytun Cafe, should be. Oh, no, that's not it. That's the High Atlas office, actually. So here, when we zoom in, we have the herborist, and there should be a cafe here, the Zaytun Cafe. So why is that not showing up? Always stranger than fiction. So the Zaytun Cafe, if we zoom to the feature, it doesn't have any feature. Why? What's happening here? There is a latitude and there's a longitude, and it's actually in the wrong. It's got a null in there. So something went wrong. You have two records, herborist and the Zaytun, and there is a problem with the Zaytun. So go back in, figure out where the problem is. Zaytun is this one, 30, and it looked like it had information in it. That is bizarre as all get out. Latitude and longitude look correct, but apparently are not correct. And so let's open up again our recent document of the points exported and see what's happening with the Zaytun Cafe. It would be this and this. Copy it, go back in, paste it. Yes. Save it. And update. Reproject. And it's in there. Finally. All right, so there's the Zaytun Cafe, and we do have the website there, and there, so that's the arborist, and here is the Zaytun Cafe, and you can click on it, and boom, you can go straight to the cafe to see what it looks like. So that is a long way with a lot of complications of going through what you would do to get your information off of GIS into a spreadsheet and then back into GIS so that you can save this stuff as you're working on things. And let's just go through it one more really quick time, and then maybe you can always skip. We'll just tag this part of the video and you can skip to it when you want to do it. So let's suppose that you want to put in your own points of interest that are not in the data set that you put in, and you want to add it to the data set. And a good example of that would be, I would like to see where Ibn Talul University is. So I'm going to go to plugins and geocoding, and I'm going to see if Ibn Talul, if I spell it right. No, it doesn't have that. So I've got to go and figure out. So when we're in Tangier, Ibn Talul, is it? Oh, maybe it's not even, maybe I've got that name wrong. So one moment, let me look it up. All right, sorry, I was writing the wrong name. So we don't know yet if geocoding has it or not. So we're going to go back to geocoding, and we're going to put in the proper name, spelling Ibn Tufail University, and there it is. All right, so that comes up. This is where PhD student Mohammed Ochani is working. Let's change the symbology of that because you really can't see that at all. And let's put that again as a honeycomb for the things that we know are in our own layers. And then when we zoom in, we see the university and what looks like a very beautiful campus. And let's also say that we want to put a polygon for wherever the faculty is that is geography, and that you'd have to do from your Google Maps. So when you go in here and you go Ibn Tufail University, then we can see that there's the School of Business, there's the Applied Sciences, there is the residences, amphitheater, Faculty of Sciences, and then there's technical high schools out there. But let's assume that we are going to be working with the School of Applied Sciences, which is right here for now, because otherwise there's the health center, there's the physical chemical laboratory, there's the doctoral study, National School of Chemistry, Superior School of Technology, there's Innovation and Pedagogy and the Center for Innovation. But let's assume that we're going to do Applied Sciences and that we want to show that. So we want a point for the whole university, but we want the building to show up here. And so to get that building, I can go in and grab this. And then when I come back to GIS, I can go down here to the locate, put those coordinates in as we did in the very first tutorial, and double click and it links there. I could have also and should have also made my scale something much closer, but that's the building that we're looking at. And then we would go into our that's the coding plugin results. I think I actually put this in the wrong place. The geocoding showed me where the university was, but I needed to get into my own Culhane points of interest to draw the point in. I should have done that, and then I could put in Ibn Tofile and the address, latitude, longitude we have in decimal degrees. So let's see if that will let me put anything in. Nope. I just have to write that in, but it is, get the name, the spelling wrong, unless I look at it, Ibn Tofile University. So let's put that in. Alright, and I know that it's in Tangier. We'll add more information later for that and all that. The latitude and longitude, we don't have to worry about if we do the export function that we have, but since we're already on the map, it's faster to just come in and take the latitude and longitude from here and then come in and put in our latitude and longitude, which it's not letting me write in. It says null for some reason. Alright, well, it says null. Wait for that. So Culhane points of interest. I can't tell you why that attribute table will not let me put in, maybe it'll put it in here, latitude, decimal. Nope, sure is not letting me write anything in there for some reason. Okay, that's always interesting. Let's see if I save. Now I can do it. Or no, yes I can now that I've saved it. Alright, so it had to be saved, and it still won't work. So they're write protected for some reason that we don't really know. Maybe because it has no ID. I can put 0 in. Huh. And now come in here and still can't do anything. I can't even type stuff in. So, no. All right. So we at least have the marker in place. We can turn that off from the geocoding results. Okay, so now we want to get the decimal places first out of this that we have in Culhane points of interest. So we go to the attribute table, and we can't paste in stuff here. It has to be written in because it's decimal and have to be written in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and to the abacus again, and we're going to update the existing fields. But before we update them, we've got to make sure that our field length is 20 and our precision even lets us do. We have to go to decimal, then you need decimal. Then we're going to put 15 for our decimal and 20 for our output field length. That's really important. Set that first and then go to update the existing field, and that kind of gets locked in. Oops. This should say 15, not 1 of 5. Oh my gosh. Imagine pi could go on forever. 20, 15, update the existing field, and then we are going to pick the longitude or latitude, whichever one we want to do. If we're doing latitude, remember that while latitude is usually the horizontal on a globe, here you're going to use the y transform for latitude. And this is the formula once again. And then we will say OK, and then it puts that in. And then to do the longitude, we do the same thing. We will go to first make this precision under decimal number, make this 20, then make this 15, and then click on update existing field, and then let's go to longitude digital decimal 15 and put in that formula. But of course this needs to be X now. So it's going to transform that geometry, and bingo, now we have Ibn Tufayl University. You can see that the longitude is further over toward the coast, and that the latitude is further up, as opposed to what we had in, like, Ben Guerir is 32 north. It's north of Marrakesh, which is 31, and you can see that it's also further on the east-west side as well, as opposed to Ibn Tufayl. So you see that information there, and then you have to save what you have. And then we will stop editing that, but it's in there, in the Culhane Points of Interest. And we also said we want to get to the faculty building that we had seen for applied sciences, and we'd identify it was this. So then we would go into our project sites. Now that came in later. We can make a new one if we like. And so we would make a new layer, and we would create a new geopackage layer, and or actually we can load, we should be able to load one. So let's just add a layer, because I think we already had it. So we add a vector layer, and we had the vector layer being Culhane polygons. Somewhere in here, sites of interest, polygons. Well, no, we actually didn't save anything like that. So fine, so we're going to add a layer. And that layer is going to be a, not a vector layer, but a create layer, a new geopackage layer, and we will, this time we'll save it. So it'll be a geopackage that is called Culhane polygons of interest. And that will have a name field, which is name, and it should have a WKT field. And now the geometry type is going to be polygon, and we will say OK, and we will go to that polygons of interest, and we'll edit it by pressing that pencil, and start the edit, and we'll say, okay, this building here is the Faculty of Applied Sciences, and you right-click on it, and then you have to put Faculty of Applied Sciences. Ibn Tufayl, I probably spelled that wrong here. And then the WKT has nothing in it yet. And we have that shape file there. And we're going to add a path for how you'd walk from the center of campus to there. And so we would come in, make another layer, another geopackage layer. We'll call this one Culhane Paths of Interest, and save it. So now we have created Culhane Paths of Interest, and the geometry type here is going to be a line string. It's nice to include the z-dimension if it exists. New field is always going to be name, and then we could put the WKT, but we're not probably going to end up needing it like we did with the latlon, because the export does WKT, but we'll see. And then we'll say okay, and then we can come into the paths of interest, and we can edit and click on the line and zoom in and say, well, I would really probably not be able to walk through here in the building, so we'd probably want to go from the building out to the road, and then we come around here, cut up this path to there, go to there, go to there, walk along through, cut across this parking lot, and it's a great way to visit places you've never been to. Walk through these trees up to here, come through to there, come through to here, walk in front there, come through there, come through there, come through there, and then make our way through the building there, for example. And then once you have that, you can then right click, and you have to say path to, or ibn to fail, path to applied sciences building, and say OK. And that path will show up, but it's not very robust yet. So maybe we should use that again. That pattern of circles makes it easier to see. And then we need to certainly save it and then stop editing. So now we have these features of a completely different part of Morocco that we've added onto our map that we now want to get into our major spreadsheet. And to do that, again, we would go to our points of interest, which is where we added that. And we would start by exporting the selected feature, and make sure first to look at the attribute table and make sure does this, because this is points, so it has to have latitude and longitude and decimal degrees with at least 15 decimal places. So that we got by using the abacus here and doing the updating the existing field. So very important that we check that, and if we have that information proper, then we can go to export save features as, and then we had a Culhane points exported that we're using for this. We can reuse it, and then we can let it all be automatic, I believe, because we're not doing WKTs right now. So we will overwrite the whole file, and we certainly don't need it here, but we should be able to add this now when we come in. If we open up the points exported that we just overwrote, then we should see in here that we have the latitude and longitude for Ibn Tufayl University along with the website. So let's grab this and this. And it would be nice if these matched. I mean, it'd be really cool if you could just take this whole row and copy it and then go in here and paste it somewhere. And somebody who's a real expert in Excel would know exactly how to do that. Paste special. If I just did paste, well, it comes in, but did it put the things properly in? And the answer is no, it didn't. But that said, if I take this and this now and copy them, or rather cut them, Control X, and do come into the latlon, then I'm fine. So that's good. And then did I put the websites in the wrong place? So that shouldn't be here, that should be here. Tangier is not supposed to be here, it's supposed to be here. And Edmonton File University is supposed to be here, it's supposed to be here. All right, but I don't know what that's doing. That doesn't need to be there. So we have that in the file. Oh, that's good. Let's do the same thing now for the path to add our new path. So we go to paths of interest, or actually we should do the building before we do the path. So the polygons here of interest, going to that applied sciences building, we would look again at the attribute table, but the attribute table doesn't have any WKT information yet. And for us to put that WKT information in, then we have to also, we got to run our field calculator. And what we're going to do is we're going to update the existing field and pick WKT, but we need to go back and find out what was our formula for well-known text. And here in our tutorial, we see, whoops, I just lost it. W8, there it is. So the KT file is going to be geometry to there. Geom to WKT geometry. Then, when we're here, we can update that field with this and say OK, and then it puts it in there. Now that we have that, and we save there, now for that polygon, I can take polygons of interest and I can export it as a CSV, and I don't mind overwriting polygons. Whatever was in there doesn't matter anymore, because I'm just using it as a placeholder. You see, geometry type is now as WKT. That's important. And we say OK and overwrite the file. And having overwritten that file, if we come back in and now close this, which we don't need, we can save it if we like, it doesn't matter. We are now going to open up polygons exported. And in polygons exported, there should now be, that's project sites, we have to look at polygons. I'm just going to open up. All right, so there's the polygon for it, which I'm going to copy and then go to the project sites and find my polygon. And I do believe that this is the right thing, number 37. All right, so now when I go to my polygon, I have that in there. And then I have a path information that I need to export to the same thing. So let me close this and let me go up to my paths of interest. There that is, and do the same thing. Go to the attribute layer, attribute table. My WKT has nothing in it right now. Go to the abacus, which is the field calculator. Update existing field, which is WKT, and it is the same. Oops, that's not what I wanted. It's the same formula, which we don't find in ChatGPT, which we find here. Geom, and eventually we can memorize these things. Obviously, it'll be on the exam. Geom to WKT, and then $ geometry. And ultimately, we're going to try to automate all this, because just like GIS, QGIS does have a model builder. You can store all this, and you wouldn't have to remember all this nonsense. But there we go. And so we got a line string this time. And so when the only reason I'm not using this is because it truncates. Because otherwise you'd say, oh, no, fine, why don't I just copy it into the spreadsheet from here? But we found that QGIS's attribute table truncates information, and then you don't get your complete line. So what we've discovered is that you need to do this and then save it there, and then go to your paths of interest, and then export as a CSV, and it'll be culping paths exported, and then once again make the geometry WKT, and if you do that, overwrite that other file, don't need to add that layer. Now when we open up the paths, we can grab this, copy it, close that, and then go over to that same field for it into a file university. I can get to it because it is the view is too big. We go to entire page. No, it didn't work. View, it's just really weird that okay, there it is. So it must be this field here. If I go up, yeah, line, make sure it goes into here, and then save it. And now we're going to end up with the same situation. So get rid of the paths of interest, the polygons of interest, and the points of interest. Our HAF project sites will contain the point once we update it. So let's go back to the where is the change data source, and pick our data, reproject it under 326, bang, that comes in, excellent. And then for our project sites, polygons, and for lines, we have to go to that, and once again, change the data source and update it. And then we've got to reproject it. Boom, we get that. And then our project sites polygons, same thing, change the data source to the updated CSV file, reproject, and you have that. So now everything is coming in off of the spreadsheet. As you can see, all that information is on the map from the spreadsheet, and we've added points, polygons, and lines. And that is the way that you do it. So our very last thing for total reinforcement. So we'll wrap this up. We'll wrap this up, and we will do another video in which I explain to Inas how this works, and she asks questions, and then we'll be able to review all of this material. So long for now.